Welcome back to the Put Yourself First podcast. Today is another life update. This is for the month of September. And what a month. There is a lot to talk about today personally. Just in internal world, inner work. I just have to point out though, if you watch the video podcast, either on Spotify or YouTube, how friggin' cute is my little champagne candle. It's probably got an hour left of this particular, it's like a pillar candle if you're listening. And you know, when you see it at weddings and stuff where people do a DIY table candle with champagne bottles or other wine bottles. And so we got a bottle of Verve from one of our friends for our for our engagement, steady on. And I really wanted to keep it as a souvenir, as a token, as a memory. And I thought, what better way to do that than have it as a ceremony candle for my office. So I thought I'd light it today, because a candle is always a vibe. I always try to have a candle lit in my office when I'm focused and working. As you will have heard if you listened to August's life update, I am engaged and we have a second dog. So those are the two main things that have still been on my mind in our life over the past month. I wanted to talk today around some of the funk I've been in September. And to make it also helpful, I also want to talk about how I helped myself out of it, how I have moved through it. So I put a post up the other week talking about why sometimes when great things happen, it can be really challenging to deal with and to adapt. And how that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you're not grateful. It doesn't mean that you didn't deserve to receive that milestone in your life. It simply means that your nervous system is adapting to a new normal. So what I reflect now, having happened at end of August, beginning of September, was two life-changing decisions happening within the space of a few days. And then coming back off a long haul, vision board trip that was non-stop. As you'll know if you've ever been to New York, the city is amazing, but the energy is genuinely 24/7. And when you're going that direction too, so UK to US, you're also waking up at 6 a.m. every day, because it's all, the time zone switch. So it's not we were well rested for the whole trip, if you know what I mean. And we were busy doing stuff every single day, and we got engaged, and then we had a red-eye flight home. So we literally had 2 hours sleep, had a day at home to recover, get our go and get Benji, get our washing done, not really recover, but just get back in the house. Then we had a day to prep for Bella, and we went to, Pets at Home, getting all her stuff, getting everything we needed. And then we were off to get her, and it was an 8-hour round trip in the car to get her. So I was really run down and got sick. Just a bit of a cold. I think I must have been picking it up on the flight, or maybe in the days coming home. And just the stress and the quickness of it all just made me ill. And that was the first sign, I think, that my body was struggling to adapt and was under stress. My immune system was obviously lower. But then the mental hurdles came, where, of course, this huge milestone had happened in my life. I was engaged. And then that kind of felt like it was swooped away, and now all our energy needs to go into our second dog that we've got. And I think, and this is me being brutally brutally honest here, I feel like there is a princess archetype in me, and she likes being pampered. She loves bougie things. She loves to be wined and dined and all those things. So clearly that part of me is fucking buzzing that she's been proposed to. And then she also felt a little bit hard done by, because it was like, right, and via a choice that she made too, like that we made together, it was like, right, that's done now, time to get a second dog. And if you've ever had that with like an engagement, a wedding, a, you know, milestone in your business or your career, whatever it is, something big and exciting, and like that you've had this build up to, and that other people have that, you know, reaction of, oh my God, this is huge, congratulations. And I really, looking back, wanted and was craving the like integration time of actually celebrating our engagement with friends. The two of us were going to go round to our friends together, and this particular friend, she'd already messaged me to say, oh my God, can't wait to celebrate you guys. And we had to cancel, of course, because we had a second dog, and we originally had planned to just take Benji with us. And for those of you who haven't listened to the last episode, it wasn't like we'd planned in advance that we were going to get Bella and we were going to pick her up on this particular weekend, etc. So that, I think, sparked this feeling like really struggling to adjust and adapt to the stress and the challenges of a second dog, especially a rescue dog, especially an incredibly nervous and fearful dog. We were navigating, she's almost like a 3-year-old puppy, so you've got like toilet training and house training, building a relationship, all the basics, and like the inner conflict, if you will, between, yeah, I really wanted this and I'm so excited, and right now I'm also like almost mourning the ending of this exciting milestone that I didn't feel like I fully got to experience at its fullest, if you know what I mean. Because I remember feeling like coming home from New York, I was excited to feel like it was all happening again. And don't get me wrong, I've had those moments where I've like reinvigorated the excitement of it. When I've been telling each like friend I tell, because obviously when you see someone, they want to know all about it. They want to know the story. They want to know what happened. And so that's been really lovely. But I just need to say that it's okay if something really great happens in your life and you struggle to adapt to it. Because you are, you know, if something has happened and has changed your life, even if it's temporary, your nervous system's capacity is not used to experiencing that thing. And so in a real life example for me is that I remember saying to Adam, like the first week we got Bella, I felt like I didn't fully mentally prepare myself for remembering how challenging it was. And I also was almost mourning the feeling of it feeling easy. And that's just human nature, isn't it? We want everything to be easy. But I said to Adam, I was like, I feel like we worked our fucking arses off for two years. Benji's 3.5. But I feel like the groundwork with a dog is like the first 2 years that you have them, really. Unless they're, you know, a really super, super high energy dog and they need like tons more training with that. Beagles are like, they have their mad hours, but they're also quite lazy. So once they hit 2, like they're pretty chilled. as long as they have like mental stimulation and good exercise. And I was like, I feel like we've got to this like perfect point with Benji where, you know, we've worked so hard with him. We've done, you know, we've put hours and hours of training in. And like our life was really easy. Like our life with him was really easy. You know, it was really easy to like take him round to Adam's mum and dad's. And it was really easy to leave him on his own. And it was really easy, blah, 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 blah. And so for the month of September, my nervous system was like adapting to this new normal, which was that's no longer happening. There's now these new challenges. There's this choice that you've made. You know that some point in the future you will look back and think, thank God I did that. I'm so glad we did that. That, you know, everything worked out. But right now, that's not the case, right? Right now, it's like we're up at 2 a.m. cleaning dog shit out of the crate because we've not got like a toilet training schedule down with her yet. You know, it's those moments where it's like in the middle of the night, or those like mini meltdowns that you have where you are not used to the challenges that you're facing yet, and that's why it feels difficult. And it doesn't mean that you're not grateful for what's happening. It doesn't mean that you've made the wrong decision. It doesn't mean anything that you don't apply meaning to. It simply is your body adjusting to the new normal. If you can use nervous system regulation tools and basically the toolkit that I have, you can support yourself through that period of that adaptation that's happening, where if you imagine your nervous system is like a container and your nervous system learns to withhold a certain amount of information. So a certain amount of stimulus, a certain amount of stress even. You know, what is not stressful to me now, for example, going live on Instagram or looking after a dog, would have been stressful to me 4 years ago. So the nervous system, as we grow, as we learn, stretches to withhold more information, withhold more output, action, withhold more like circumstances in our life. And it gets to a point where that feels actually comfortable and normal. So when you add something new into the mix, you're stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone. And that's why it's normal to feel like you're struggling to adjust. And you might experience feelings of different emotions, right? I felt really low for a couple of weeks. Like, was just crying like most days. And I've spoke to so many other people who've, you know, had puppies and adopted animals, and they've had similar experiences, because it is challenging, especially with the rescue, with the nervousness, with the fear. You know, there are so many complexities that come into that. And then juggling that with another dog, I remember saying to Adam, I was like, how the fuck do people have, you know, never mind like one kid, I can't imagine like the challenge that brings, but how the fuck do people have 2 kids and like run a business or work from home? I just could not imagine the chaos involved in that. And oh my God, the single mums out there listening to this, you are fucking legends. And single dads, but obviously mostly women listen to this podcast. You are absolute legends. And I have no idea how you do it, because I almost had a breakdown in September, and that was just dogs. So that has been the biggest like internal thing I've gone through in September. And like I've just said with that explanation, I hope that sheds some light on what I knew was happening at the time, but also what I can share with you, because not only, you know, some of you might relate to that example, and that can be it could be a new job for you. It could be a new skill that you're learning. It could be a new goal that you have. It could be a new dog. It could be a new baby. It could be a new location you've moved to. But there is this adjustment period where it's okay if you're feeling certain, you know, if you're feeling low, or if you're feeling frustrated, or if you're feeling sad, right? You're grieving, like you're mourning, feeling like you've lost something, or feeling like, you know, there's this uncertainty happening, and so that's making you feel unsettled. It's all okay. As long as you're surrounding yourself with the right support, you're being honest about how you feel with a safe, you know, in a safe environment, and you're giving yourself the nervous system regulation you need so you can adapt. And something that really challenged me in September with this, because it's like, this alone was difficult, but like, I'm out the other side of it now, and I knew I would be. And I went through something similar with Benji when he was a puppy, and that was over lockdown. And that was like, you know, most stuff was shut down, like we obviously weren't going out. So I knew that there were different challenges involved, having to juggle client calls, plans outside, like needing to leave the house and all of that. But not having energy to pour into my business and my creativity and my work was something that I really struggled with. And not from a place of, you know, my worth is dependent on my work output or how hard I work. No, like as you've learned, if you've listened to the podcast for any amount of time, I've healed that shit long ago. My work now is about service and creativity and my mission. And at the same time, it's still a huge part of my life, my identity, like who I am, in a really positive way. You know, it's something I value highly in my life. And so not only having less brain capacity to apply to that, but also like lacking energy, lacking motivation, lacking ideas, you know, creative ideas. I'm constantly in this flow of feeling really inspired by my work, and that inspiring tons of ideas to create more. So like to write more, to do more podcasts, to go live on Instagram, to help more people. And so not having that life force energy really fucking sucked, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm not used to not like jumping out of bed in the morning on a Monday morning, like raring to go, ready for work. And in September, I found myself having to really take a step back and let myself do the bare minimum. And don't get me wrong, like my bare minimum is not me phoning it in. I always wonder if it's phoning it in or honing it in. I think it's phoning it in anyway. It's honing in on and then it's phoning it in, isn't it? Is that right? I think that's right. We're going to go with that. My version of that is not like shitty work. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a Capricorn. I love work. I love working hard. I have high standards for myself. So I'm never not gonna perform in the sense of my clients throughout September. I was sharing little bits on social media, but it did not in any way affect them and the service they get, if you know what I mean. So it was almost like then therefore everything else had to take a back seat. And that was frustrating. You know, the sisterhood doors have been open all throughout the month of September. They've closed now for the rest of the year, but it was really frustrating to have that lower energy and not be able to pour that into a launch in the same way that I would. But there's a real lesson in here, and I guess this is coming to the end of the personal updates for September, and then I can chat a little bit about some other stuff. The art of surrender when it comes to times of challenge. And we talk a lot about surrender in spirituality, in manifestation, because it's such a skill to be able to release expectations, release attachment to the outcome, release attachment to the timeline. And my God, I had to do this in September because I had to surrender in the moment, like surrender in how I was feeling, and really allow myself to go through that. Not like shame myself and go, no, Kat, you chose this, so just get on with it. Or no, suck it up, you should be grateful, you should be excited, blah, 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 blah. I had to surrender to how I was feeling. I had to surrender to the choice I'd made and therefore the consequences of that choice. And I also had to then surrender the outcomes, surrender the timeline of that coming into fruition, and not knowing, releasing expectation, releasing pressure on the outcome that I wanted. So the main example of this has been in that morning, like when it was easy, something I really had to surrender was it needing to all be figured out like yesterday. So I remember, feeling so worked up and so anxious and like thinking, right, well, we need to be able to have left the dogs on their own like yesterday. And I wasn't saying yesterday, but there was that pressure in my mind. We need to be able to train the dogs in this way. We need to stop the dogs doing this. We need to have them in this place. We need to blah, 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 blah. And it's almost like the ego's rush for it to all be figured out and for you to get the outcome that you want, so that then the external circumstance has quote unquote fixed itself, and then you can go back to it feeling easy, and then I can relax, right? Then I can be happy. And notice how we do that with every single thing that we want in life, where the ego attaches itself to this external outcome. For me in September, it was my dogs being perfectly trained and never doing anything wrong. And until you achieve that external outcome, maybe for you it's a certain amount of money, maybe it's a milestone that you want to reach in your career, maybe it's a milestone instead of a dog, maybe it's a milestone in your family's life. Once we have bought this size house, or once we're through this stage of parenting, once we can get here, then I'll be happy, then I'll be able to relax, then I'll feel like I'm doing good, then I'll feel successful, or whatever it is. For me, it was then it can go back to feeling easy, and therefore I can feel okay and chill. And like basically get my easy breezy life back, where I can be my princess self and like float around. Because, I'm very blessed and it's been very intentional, but I love my life. I love what I do every single day. And every single day, not from an ego place, from a genuine place of like service to my purpose, I do what I want to every single day. Even if it's like most of the day is made up of, let's say, admin or like other things that you don't want to do, I always do something that I really want to do every single day. So my ego was like, no, we just want to go back to that. Like, we want to go back to easy breezy life where you can skip around and everything's great, because then you can relax. And once I surrendered that and I said, no, this is what's happening now. And for as long as I like outsource that feeling to the outcome, I'm going to be suffering. I'm causing my own suffering. When I surrendered that, and when I surrendered the timeline of it, and I remember saying to Adam, I'm in a place of acceptance that it could be the next couple of months, it could be the next 3 months, it could be the next 6 months of our lives that we need to pour like most of our spare time and the majority of our time, energy, resources into setting up this dog for an amazing life, because clearly we have a lot of work to do with her, because she's so scared, she's so fearful, she's so nervous, she literally does not know how to live in a house. Once I surrendered it, once I was like, right, this is, I'm accepting where we are, I'm accepting what is, I'm accepting what will come, bam, like everything changed. And I posted on stories last week. At the time of recording this, it would have been a couple of weeks ago by the time you hear this, but once I surrendered, the shift happened. Once I surrendered, my own mindset, my own energy shifted, because I could be more positive. The irony was, like, me trying to control the outcome was actually causing me more suffering. And once I surrendered the outcome to whatever it's supposed to be, I stopped suffering through it. And I actually felt more calm, more present, more joyful. When I'd surrendered that allowed me then to feel my best. And I feel like energetically that Bella responded to me. And it was like this 5-day window where I was looking back, and you'll know this with, for example, dog training, where you'll all of a sudden go, oh, it's been a few days and like that didn't happen. Oh, it's been a few days and like we've suddenly seen these milestones that we were wondering, whether that might come weeks and months down the line. And it was like the moment I surrendered, the floodgates opened to all the progress that I wanted to see, which is so beautiful and such a reminder. And I feel almost emotional because obviously this beautiful little dog, like, she's so gorgeous and she's had such a tough life up till now. And like, she deserves to live her own like princess life for the rest of hers. She's been such a beautiful teacher already, and she's really given me that. She's teaching me so much about patience and surrender and compassion on like a whole new level. And I'm sure if you've ever rescued a dog, like, you'll relate, because there's a different energy in a puppy. Like, there is a different energy in a puppy. It's like these tragic stories about newborn babies who, their mum like tragically dies or they're orphaned in some way. And whilst we know like the impact that very well may have, we also know that a baby like can be mothered by be parented by anyone who is loving and feeds it and keeps it safe and warm. And it's that blind innocence of trust that babies have, both baby humans and baby animals, that makes it so much easier to create that connection and that relationship. And it's so heartbreaking to see that that's been robbed from Bella and any dog that's been, abused or neglected. But I'm so grateful for her for all of the lessons. So a few little Bella updates to end here, because I know you've been really enjoying them on my stories. She has become much, much braver just in general. She's always been really curious, but her nerves have always overtaken the curiosity. But now it's like the curiosity is still there, but the nerves are dissipating. So she is much more explorative around downstairs. We're trying to do it bit by bit, so it's not like she has free roam of the full house just yet. Which is really cute to see her wandering around. We've been leaving them on their own. For those of you who don't know, Benji, our first dog, had such bad separation anxiety because he was a lockdown puppy. So I was really concerned about that, because she's a rescue, because she's been neglected. I didn't want her to anxiously attach to us and then not be able to be on her own with Benji. But that's been absolutely fine. We've seen real massive progress with everything. She's going on little walks now. She's learning how to walk with a harness on, even though she doesn't like it. She's like, what the fuck is this thing? Why am I being pulled back in this weird contraption? And I was talking to my friend Danielle about it, who's also a dog mom and dog obsessed like me. And she was saying it is really weird when you think about it, isn't it? It's so, imagine being a dog and you're an animal, you're bred for a certain job. So beagles are actually bred for hunting. So they're bred to basically fuck right off into the distance and just have their little tail sticking up out of the grass so the huntsman on a horse can see them and follow them, because they're following a scent that will lead to, a scent trail for where the rabbits are or whatever it is. And when you think about it, it's so unnatural for a dog to suddenly all of a sudden be in a harness. And it's every single thing Bella experiences living in a house, it's that they're all just such new things for her. And so I find it so beautiful that when I surrendered to it and was you know what, girl, we're here. This is where we are together. We're all learning. We're all growing together here. We'll take every one step at a time. It's as soon as my energy shifted, she responded to that. And whilst, she's still learning all these new things, to see that progress was just so, so beautiful. I want to end with a couple of things that I have found really helpful for resetting my nervous system this month, because I know some of you will be wondering, how have you done a complete 180 from feeling really low and zero motivation to right, I'm back in action and I'm ready to smash the rest of 2023. So the first thing was really honouring my emotions and really honouring where I'm at. And whatever that looks like for you, maybe like me, it looks like letting yourself have a little moment every day, or a big moment, or many moments throughout the day, to cry, to get stuff off your chest, to not need like advice or not need someone to fix it, but just to get it off your chest. That was the number one thing, like in the moment. The second thing is nervous system regulation tools. So having that understanding of what was going on under the surface, I was using EFT. I was firstly like journaling a lot, so really being aware of my thought process, like what the fears were, what was the uncertainty, what was I really scared of. So that's the first like more cognitive part of it. But then once I discovered what my unconscious like fear-based thoughts or ego-based thoughts, whatever, were, then using, for me, mainly it's EFT. But I also did a beautiful retreat for myself over the weekend and came back to breath work, which is one of my other, go-to practices for like emotional release, emotional processing. And breath work and meditation on a more like daily basis. So when I say breath work as a tool, I mean like an emotional release breath work session, which is me lay down for 30-40 minutes using conscious connected breathing in and out through the mouth, and like crying, making noise, sighing it out, shaking my body, like doing what I need to do to get rid of that shit and give myself that space. But outside of that, day to day, also using really basic breathing techniques like in through the nose, filling the belly, and then out through the mouth for 10. I meditate most days. I use my own meditations, or I'll use the Calm app because I like having someone else guide me sometimes. And those are the main things: EFT, meditation, breath work, daily breath work, but then also the bigger breathwork journeys. And then I'd already booked this weekend off work, Thursday to Sunday, but what I knew that I really needed was a hard reset and some real time off, because obviously having to juggle the new dog and all of this stuff with clients and with business, I knew I needed some time off. And I think if you're reaching that point as well with anything new, this is why so many, I hear from so many female CEOs who've had a baby who in hindsight say, I didn't take enough time off, because it's like that rush back to work has fucked with that adjustment period that they really needed, where they needed to really fully adapt to this new change and not feel like they needed to be outputting and working and showing up in that area of their life. So I knew I needed like a long weekend, and luckily I'd already blocked it in my calendar anyway, because I knew that the last quarter of the year, October through to December, is one of my busiest periods. I do my biggest launch, I do my free challenge, for those of you who know. That will be coming up very soon. And so thankfully past Cat had already put that in, but I think I would have done something similar even if I hadn't had that, because I basically mapped out like an itinerary, like a self-care day, where I was like, right, it's just me and the dogs in the house. Adam was on a lad's weekend away in Lisbon, which is very nice for him as well. I was like, right, cool, Thursday. And I literally wrote in my notes, morning, breath work, lunchtime, journaling about this, having this for lunch. Like, I ordered the food that I needed in, like I planned everything that I needed to create this beautiful, relaxing environment for myself. And I feel so good after doing that. And it's been September was a big month of growth, and there's been some major like energy of rebirth and renewal, and it's beautiful as well entering autumn. I think the seasonal switch has happened too, where we are cyclical beings, so our lives move in cycles, and clearly like I'm now entering a new cycle, a new season, if you will. And I'm on the run up now to my 30th birthday on the 14th of January. And so I don't think that's a coincidence that I've been through this. And I'm now feeling more tapped in to my emotions, more tapped into my energy, with all these beautiful lessons to infuse into my work, to pour into that free challenge that will be coming up, and obviously to serve and help more amazing women just like you listening. So that is September. Thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear if you're still loving these life updates. I think they're really fun and quite cathartic for me to record. So if you're really enjoying them, please just let me know. Even if it's just a one-liner, reply to the email when I email them out in the newsletters, even if it's a quick DM on Instagram, however you want to do it, but just let me know you're enjoying them, because it means that I know you want more and I know I can continue doing them. And I will see you for another episode next week, back to our usual schedule of mindset and manifestation work, tools, but I feel like even this life update has been packed with so many mindset and manifestation lessons. So I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll speak to you soon.